Welcome to Healthy Kingston. My name is Janet Wade, and I'd like to introduce you to our health agent, Arthur Boyle, who's going to be updating us on what has been going on public health-wise in the town of Kingston.
Well, we've got a lot of excitement, as much as you can have coming off a weekend of 70 degrees that gave us all a false sense of spring.
Right.
But we did relax our call to be careful on the ice flows and so forth, because there are none at the moment. I attended a Tripoli seminar recently that I had told you about off the air, and I wanted to share with our viewers that you're coming up on the season again. It seems like we just got through it and you're coming back to it.
Yeah.
But they had some interesting facts that I thought were very telling, and that was the fact that the statistics don't tell the whole story. You get a 62-year-old man from Worcester passes away due to West Nile virus, or Triple E, and it turns out that he got it in Middlesex County, and you know, it's gives you a false sense of where the games are played, I guess. You know, you have folks whose children are in the Division I soccer finals, and they want to have them play at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night so that their grandparents can attend and their relatives from out of town can come in. But you're taking the chance of having a mosquito tragedy by starting at 6 o'clock rather than 3 o'clock. And I give a lot of credit to Silver Lake and Martha Jameson, who is their athletic director, because she saw this, and Kathy Drynan, who's the health agent from Halifax. They were on top of this right at the very beginning as we got together and, you know, by phone, you know, talked about the various times and things like that. And it's coming again, you know, in the spring. So we're only 3 months away from the start of, you know, Triple E again. Right. And that's, you know, it's almost become cliche with the, you know, the prominence of it. But we're very concerned, and the cycle is such that it's about every 7 or 8 years it regenerates into a more powerful strain. So, you know, we've got that. We've got people that we talk to virtually every day, but we try to encourage neighbors to look after neighbors, and that was the theme of one of your shows, or a portion of one of your shows, I think. You know, talk to the elderly woman next door, talk to the elderly man downstairs in an apartment building, or, you know, can I get you anything? Can I shovel your car off? Can I help you in some way? And we are a good town where, you know, the kids are, you know, nice and well raised and so forth, and they're likely to go and help out a neighbor, but it doesn't hurt to ask them. And
absolutely not.
You know, it's a good thing for the community. It's a good thing for the students to learn. It's a good thing for the parents to know that they've raised good kids. So
just be nice. Yeah,
and we've got pet safety as well, and very few people think about this, but you have the de-icer that you put down on your driveway and on your walkway and so forth. Well, if you've got pets, you've got to go with the Pet Safe brand, because the others burn their feet and their paws and so forth.
That's an excellent point. Yeah.
You know, down wires are a concern. You know, I know you've had representatives from the fire department in the past, and, you know, they'll tell you, you know, if it's a down wire, don't try to decide whether it's a telephone or an electrical wire by touching it. You know,
just stay away.
Yeah, it's best to let, you know, get a call into 911, let the pros handle it. And the other thing, we got a call the other day regarding pills from a person who passed away, and the family had pills from their you know, medicine cabinet in the bathroom. And they said, can we just flush them down the toilet? And I said, heaven forbid, no. You know, because you're basically poisoning, you know, somebody's water supply potentially. You know, and if it's a sewer, you know, a sewered house with, you know, you create a whole nother problem.
Right.
So, don't flush the pills down the toilet. Call the Board of Health or call the police department.
You can
Tell
take them to the police department. I know there's a certain day every month.
Yeah, they're great about it too. So we encourage people to do the right thing. Don't leave them hanging around the house either. That your children could get into them, heaven forbid.
Right. February is Heart Month, the perfect time to learn about your risk for heart disease and the steps you need to take now to help your heart. Heart disease and the conditions that lead to it can happen at any age. High rates of obesity and high blood pressure among young people, anywhere between the ages of 35 and 64, are putting them at risk for heart disease earlier in life. Half of all Americans have at least one of the top 3 risk factors for heart disease: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and smoking. You could be at risk. Many of the conditions and behaviors that put people at risk for heart disease are appearing at younger ages. High blood pressure. Millions of Americans of all ages have high blood pressure, including millions of people in their 40s and 50s. About half of people with high blood pressure don't have it under control. Having uncontrolled high blood pressure is one of the biggest risks for heart disease and other harmful conditions such as stroke. The next is high cholesterol, which can increase the risk for heart disease. Having diabetes and obesity, smoking, eating unhealthy foods, and not getting enough physical activity can all contribute to unhealthy cholesterol levels. Smoking is another issue. More than 37 million adults in the United States are current smokers, and thousands of young people start smoking each year. Smoking damages the blood vessels and it can cause heart disease. Other conditions and behaviors that affect your risk for heart disease include obesity. If you're carrying extra weight around, it puts stress on your heart. More than 1 in 3 Americans and nearly 1 in 6 children between the ages of 2 and 19 are obese. Diabetes can cause your sugar to build up in the blood. This can damage blood vessels and control nerves that help control the heart muscle. Nearly 1 in 10 people in the United States has diabetes. Staying physically active helps keep the heart and blood vessels healthy. Only 1 in 5 adults meets the physical activity guidelines of getting 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity activity. Most Americans, including children, eat too much sodium or salt, which increases blood pressure. Replacing foods high in sodium with fresh fruits and vegetables can help lower your blood pressure, but only 1 in 10 adults is getting enough fruits and vegetables each day. A diet high in trans fat, saturated fat, and added sugar can increase your risk factors for heart disease. There are 4 ways to take control of your heart health. You're in the driver's seat when it comes to your heart. Learn how to be heart healthy at any age. Don't smoke. Smoking's the leading cause of preventable death in the United States. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you do smoke, learn how to quit. Manage your life conditions. Work with your health care team to manage conditions such as high blood pressure and high cholesterol. This includes taking any medicines you've been prescribed. Learn more about preventing and managing high blood pressure and high cholesterol. Also, make heart-healthy eating changes. Eat food low in trans fat, saturated fat, added sugar, and sodium. Try to fill at least half your plate with vegetables and fruits, and aim for low sodium options. And learn a lot more about how to reduce your sodium. Lastly, stay active. Get moving for at least 150 minutes per week. You can even break up the 30 minutes into 10-minute blocks. Learn more about how to get enough physical exercise. We're going to be talking in a few moments with the Deputy Fire Chief, Adam Hatch, about the Heart Safe America program here in Kingston. Heart Safe America is dedicated to providing leading CPR and automatic external defibrillation equipment to those who need them. Heart safety has never been more important than it is today, and having the knowledge and equipment necessary to save a life can make all the difference in an emergency situation. Kingston was recognized as a heart-healthy community in 2003, which means that it had to go through a rigorous evaluation to determine if it had the equipment and number of people trained to conduct CPR and use an automated external defibrillator to meet the needs of the town. CPR, or cardiopulmonary resuscitation, is the process of using compressions and breathing techniques in order to resuscitate someone who has stopped breathing and were prepared to take the action necessary. The occurrence of sudden cardiac arrest is increasing and can be fatal if the proper action is not taken. CPR and an AED training can help you to be prepared to prolong the time in which medical professionals can help a victim. AED training is also important in the occurrence of sudden cardiac arrest. Someone trained in proper AED use is able to use the machine to help restart a victim's heart through the use of a measured electrical impulse. Most AEDs will give full instructions to the user. However, proper training can ensure that the success rate of the maneuver is as high as possible. When someone's life is on the line, it's best to be prepared for as many circumstances as possible. There is a chain of survival, critical steps to take in the event of a sudden cardiac arrest. Have early access to emergency care. Bystanders should recognize the symptoms of cardiac arrest and call 911 immediately. EMS dispatchers are equipped with instructions for the caller and can get a basic and advanced life support response vehicle to the scene immediately. Early CPR. CPR, when properly administered, buys precious minutes until a defibrillator is available. Public knowledge and awareness must be increased so that those trained in CPR will actually perform CPR when it's needed. Next, early defibrillation is the delivery of an electric shock to restore the heart's normal rhythm. Early defibrillation is considered to be one of the most critical links in the chain of survival. AEDs are lightweight, sturdy, and easy to use and should be deployed so that a shock can be delivered within 3 to 5 minutes. An advanced life support response vehicle staffed with qualified EMS professionals delivers advanced care in a timely manner. Additional therapy is delivered by these personnel can be critical to the survival of cardiac patients. The best way to gain the knowledge you need in order to be prepared in a life or death situation is to attend an American Heart Association CPR class. I'd like to welcome Deputy Fire Chief for the town of Kingston, Adam Hatch. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
And recently found out that the town of Kingston has been recognized since the year 2003 as a heart-safe certified town. And I wanted to ask you, what does that mean and what does that entail?
Basically, when you're recognized as a heart-safe community, you're recognized as giving the tools and abilities to the general public to increase survival from a cardiac event, more specifically cardiac arrest, outside of the hospital. And in doing that, we've been able to, in working with other agencies within the town, getting automatic external defibrillators in every town building. All of the police cruisers carry them. All of the fire apparatus carries them. And then our 3 ALS ambulances and one of our engines has an advanced monitor that the paramedics use in treating patients. And there's also some training out there that we've been trying to get done since about 2016, training town employees how to use the machines in their building. They're all in the buildings. They're marked in marked cabinets. Some of the athletic fields have them as well as the beach.
Okay. That's tremendous, and this has been going on since 2003.
Yes.
And can you speak to how this has impacted the town and the rate of success of people dealing with cardiac incidences and
well, as far as successes goes, it gives us more of an ability to have rapid defibrillation if required. There's what's called the chain of survivability, and that is basically from when the event occurs till the patient is in definitive care, which would be a hospital. And studies have shown that early CPR and early defibrillation, if warranted, increases the survivability rate of the person having the event. The defibrillators that are in the public areas and the public buildings are the automatic style, so they basically talk the operator through exactly what to do. So they really don't need to have any sort of formal training. It actually speaks to you and walks you through the process of putting it on the patient. It will tell you if there's a rhythm that's considered a shockable rhythm, and if there isn't, it will not allow you to shock the person. So you can't shock somebody accidentally. So somebody that doesn't have the knowledge isn't going to hurt anybody by putting it on the patient. It won't let you deliver a shock if it's not advised by the machine. It will just instruct you through CPR at that point, and then tell you to reassess the patient after so many minutes of CPR. And at that point, if there's a rhythm, it may tell you to shock, it may tell you not to.
Does it have the ability to know the size of the person or the weight of the person?
Yes, I mean, as far as
The degree of the shock that it
yeah,
gives
it will
the person?
measure that. It has a way to sense the girth of a person, I guess you would say, or how big or small a person is,
Okay.
and will deliver a shock favorable to that individual.
Okay.
We have a special set of pads we use for pediatric patients that are,
Okay,
that are
that's
in
what I
all
was
the machines,
wondering.
so you have to swap those out.
Got that, okay. Now, I understand you're going to demonstrate for us how to use the automated external defibrillator?
Yes, I can at least, without having it on a real patient or
Right,
a
give you an
simulating
idea.
machine, I can at least show it to you, open it up, and you can see how it talks and tells you what you're supposed to do if needed.
Okay.
So as we were saying, other than actually applying it to a patient, there's not a real good way to demonstrate it. But the basic ones that you'll see, as I said, the ambulances carry some more advanced ones, but on the fire trucks and in the police vehicles and in the town buildings as well, you'll see a version just like this. It's called the Life Pack. And it has a little window here, so you check it weekly to make sure that the battery is good. And the town building maintenance department does a very good job of keeping us abreast of if they need to be replaced. They check the pads, and we're able to get those things for them if that needs to be done, or if they're, God forbid, if they're used, we can assist them in replenishing it. So basically, all you do is you remove it from your cabinet, open it up. It has a green on button,
Connect electrodes.
and it tells you from there what to do. The electrodes are right here. It has some pictographs as to how to place these on the patient,
Connect electrodes.
and that's going to just keep talking until we put the patient, the electrodes on.
Okay.
So I'll shut that off. There's also, we have a set, this would be for adults, we have an attached set for pediatrics, as well as a small opioid kit attached to them. And basically, once you place these on the patient, it's going to electronically read the patient's rhythm or lack of a rhythm, and then instruct you what to do from there. It will tell you that it recommends a shock or no shock advised. If it recommends a shock, you'll hear it powering itself up. It will tell you to stay away from the patient. And when it's ready to deliver the shock, a little alarm will go off, and you just hit this red button, and it delivers the shock. And then it will reassess the patient a second time, and either tell you to shock again, or start CPR, or monitor the patient, depending upon if you're able to shock that person out of a specific rhythm into a healthy rhythm. It may tell you to just monitor the patient till the ambulance gets there.
Okay.
So, and as we were talking about the chain of survivability, the chain starts with the event, and then you have your early notification 911, your early defibrillation and CPR, early arrival of the ambulance, and then getting the patient to a definitive care facility, which would be the BI. Plymouth would be a closest one for us.
Okay. Let's go, a couple of things. All right, so the town buildings have these.
Yes.
The mall has one?
The mall has one, yes. One that I know of.
Okay. The schools?
Schools all have them, yes.
Okay. So they are readily accessible.
They are readily
in the
accessible,
town.
yes.
When you use this, people are instructed to stand back.
Correct.
Because you don't want anyone shocked.
No, you don't want
on the
anybody
person.
touching the patient.
No one
Once you
touches
hit that
the
red
patient.
button, you don't want anybody touching the patient.
Okay.
So if you're doing CPR, it will tell you to stop. You hands off the patient, you would deliver the shock. Then you go right back to CPR, and it will tell you from that point whether to continue or to stop, depending on the patient condition.
Okay. Great. And I know you had referred to the fact that there's a more professional AED
So-
that's used on.
Yes. So this
By the
one,
paramedics?
the paramedics would use this version. And we actually have 4 of these. We have 1 on each ambulance. So as I said, we have the 3 ambulances. And then our first out engine out of headquarters carries one of these as well. This machine gives the paramedic the ability to dial in. It will give you a display on the front, and they can actually read the rhythm and know what's going on with the heart. This one just tells you whether something's bad or not, or not. This one they can actually diagnose, and it will tell them exactly what they need to treat. This version will also take blood pressure. It can pace a patient's heart, so if they have a pacemaker that's failing, we can pace the person's heart. It also has the ability to take oxygen saturation and carbon dioxide saturation readings from the patient's breathing.
Right. So obviously the paramedic has a lot of information to share with the emergency room staff.
Correct.
Does this connect with the hospital at all?
It can, yes. It can wirelessly connect with the hospital.
Okay. We talk a lot about calling 911. What should people say when they call 911?
The most important thing is when you call 911 and the dispatcher answers is to make sure you state your address clearly, where you are clearly. Now with cell phones being as prevalent as they are, 911 has kind of caught up with it, so it can, in a GPS fashion, pinpoint where the caller is, whereas before we really couldn't do that. But obviously stating where you are, what the problem is, and any pertinent information that the dispatcher may need to help to relay to us on the way there.
Right.
If it's a medical problem, if this is something that happens consistently with people, they have heart problems, it's good to know that we have a patient that has cardiac issues to begin with.
Right.
So anything that we pertinent to us helping the patient is important to relay.
Okay.
And a lot of times too is staying on the phone, because the dispatchers can give instructions as to what to do, and if they were to hang up or we were to lose the call, sometimes you may not be able to reconnect with them.
Right.
So we want people to stay on the phone as long as they can.
Yeah.
We understand the situations where they can't.
Right.
But if they can and it's safe to do so, we want them to stay on the phone and speak with the dispatcher until we get there.
What if you're by yourself? What is the priority? To stay with the patient or to call 911?
It's
It's
judgment call. You got to call 911. That's something, you could be there for a long time by yourself if somebody
Right.
doesn't know. You want to see what you can do initially. You might be able to help the patient initially. If not, we want you to notify 911. The good thing is most everybody has a cell phone.
Okay.
Even if the patient may have a cell phone, you can use if you don't possibly have
Sure.
one. Because you can still dial 911 from a locked phone.
One last thing I'd like to ask you about is a fairly new piece of equipment that you have that's called the Lucas machine that will do compressions. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and how successful you think it's been in helping to revive people?
Yes. So it's new to us. It's not new to the service. It's been around since the 70s, as far back as I can tell. But it's new to us, and basically what it is, it's just that. It's a machine that will do compressions for us, so we can be free to do other things. In a smaller department like ours, where staffing is limited sometimes, especially with multiple calls going on simultaneously, it helps free somebody up. You're not losing that person to doing CPR. They can be doing some other things. You also don't have to stop CPR to move the patient from one place to the other. It can be doing CPR for you. And basically, it's like a giant brace, for lack of a better term, that would go over the patient's chest. You align a plunger, so to speak. You set it, you hit a button on the top, and it'll auto set itself, and it'll begin CPR for you. The good thing about it is it's a consistent depth every time and a consistent rate. It's a machine, so it doesn't get tired like firefighters, EMTs. You get tired after a little while. We carry extra batteries, and so we can swap out quickly if we had a battery issue. But all 3 ambulances have them. And as far as success rate, as we were talking about before the show, it's new to us, so we don't have really any raw data to compare it to right now. But in speaking with the paramedics that have used it, and I've used it myself, they see a tremendous success in getting a patient to the hospital with a rhythm, with consistent, good CPR, and they're getting the patients there with a rhythm. So we've had huge success with it, to the point where we got a third one. We had the two initial ambulances had them, and then we were able through donations to get a third.
Tremendous. And I know it's been brought up to me before. I used to be a CPR instructor. But what happens? I could crack a rib, it could lacerate the liver or whatever, but...
Yep, you can live with that stuff.
You can live with
those
that
are all
stuff,
things down the road
exactly.
you can fix.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Once you get in the patient to the hospital with a pulse, it's a big thing, and all those other things can be fixed afterwards.
Great. So one more thing I wanted to ask you to put up the sign, if you would.
Sure. So we've had these around town for several years, and some of them have come down after, with construction and stuff. And that's one of our things is we have a stack. We're trying to get them reinstalled around town, and this might help jumpstart that. Now, some people didn't know about HeartSafe.
Right.
You'll see them in front of the fire stations, usually at the town lines. We have them as on the entering Kingston sign. You'll see one of these right near there, and we actually would like to put them at some of the other town buildings that people frequent, the highway department, maybe down at the beach or the transfer station, where people are going to see it all the time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Deputy Fire Chief Hatch.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you being here and that all that you and your crew do for the town. And we should all feel so much better that so many people are trained in the town, and certainly that the fire department has access to this kind of equipment and training in the event that we have a cardiac incident, that we're all so much better off.
Absolutely.
because of you.
It's as time goes on, we learn more, and we're able to try and keep up with the times. And
Right.
it'll be interesting to see where we can go from here.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.